everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. Today I've got some fun Christmas and July DIYs to share with you that are gingerbread themed. So if you want how to make them, stick around. I'll show you how. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Right, Maxwell? And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I would love it if you would hit that button. Okay, for this first one, I'm using a muffin tin, and you can get these at the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to spray paint them with some Rust-Oleum espresso colored paint. And I'm just going to start on the bottom and do it first. Just do some light sweeping motions. Just don't get too close to it because you don't want runs. And then after this side dries, we're going to flip it over and do the opposite side. But you want to make sure you get every bit of it completely covered. After that's dry, I'm taking some burnt umber acrylic paint and a sea sponge. I'm just putting this on a paper towel. I'm going to dab my sponge into it, get a little bit of the paint off of it. And then I'm going to start sponging the entire pan. This is going to give it a real rust color. So just go in there and kind of dab it around, move your wrist around so you don't have the same pattern everywhere. And then I wrung out my water there because I did have a little bit too much water in it. But you're going to go around the entire pan, including the back. And I'm getting mine on there pretty heavily. You know, don't be light on this. Make sure you do get quite a bit on there. And then after you get this side done, you're going to flip it over and you're going to do the same thing on the back. After that's dried, I'm coming in with some black chalk paint and doing the same thing. Now I'm going around the edges a little bit. I'm not going to put quite as much of the black on here as I did on the burnt umber. Just kind of doing it in areas. This just really kind of softens it up a little bit and then does finish out the look. Okay, next I've given you a pattern in the description below. Just download it and cut it out. And we're going to cut this out of felt. And we're going to do one large gingerbread man and then we're going to do a small one to go with him. And this is just a primitive looking gingerbread man. And you're going to cut 2 layers exactly the same. And I'm just using a regular heather brown felt. And you're going to cut around both layers at exactly the same time. And for the small gingerbread man, I'm just using the pattern, the little pattern right here. I put 3 of them on your sheet so that you'll have extra if you want them. But you're just going to line this one up and you're going to cut out exactly the same way. Now this one's a little bit less primitive looking. This is a little bit more uniform looking. But the pattern was easy on this one to stuff it a little bit easier with this way. Then we're going to start right at the head and we're going to glue around the circle of the head all the way around. You want to put enough glue that this does stick together, and then you're going to come over the edge of the arm about 1/2 inch and then go ahead and push that down, and you're going to let this dry real good and then we're going to stuff it. So we're starting with the head and we're going to do the other one exactly the same way. After that dried, we're going to start stuffing it inside the head, and then you're going to put quite a bit of stuffing in here, and if you use a pencil eraser it works really good to kind of fill that in. And this is going to hold quite a bit of polyfill. And I get my polyfill at Michael's. It's the cheapest that I've found. Okay, so once you get the head done, then we're going to start doing the arms. And we're just going to go right around the edge of that arm. And then we're going to go down the leg just a little bit. And we're going to close that up. Now after that dries, we're going to go ahead and stuff it. And again, the pencil eraser really does help to push it into the little corners. And then once you get that side done, we're going to do the other arm. And when you do the little guy, you're going to do him exactly the same way, starting at the head and then doing the arms. I just lost my glue gun. Okay, and really try to push that down so that it is glued in good, and then we'll go ahead and start stuffing the arm. And I'm taking you through this process. I know y'all know how to stuff a little animal, but I'm just showing you how I'm stuffing it so that you can get the most stuffing into it. And then you're going to fill up the center cavity of the chest right here as well. And then we're going to start on the legs. We're going to do one leg, and then we're going to wrap around to the other. So go all the way around this leg, up, and then go over the edge of that one too. And then get that glued in, and then we're going to stuff it. And then we're going to stuff the other one through the side. And then this is where your pencil eraser comes in handy too, because you can really stuff it down into that corner. Okay, and then we're going to finish this one, go all the way around, leaving the side open, and we're going to stuff it through the side. Once that's dry, just stuff it into the side, and then we're just going to seal up that edge. And you're going to do the same thing with the other little gingerbread guy. And it did hold a lot of stuffing. I mean, this thing really did fill up. And then just hold that tight and then glue that down, and you're done with that one. After you glue them together, just kind of go around the edges of them a little bit, just in case you have any of the little fuzz from the stuffing sticking out. You can just trim this off at that time. Okay, for the larger of the two gingerbread men, I'm just going to take a ribbon and I'm going to tie it around the neck, and then I'm just going to tie it in a bow. And this is probably about a 1/2 inch ribbon. And then we're going to use a different bow on the little guy because his little neck is going to be just a little bit smaller. It'll be a little bit too big for his neck. And then just cut these off at a diagonal. And we're just going to use a little smaller ribbon to put around his neck. And I just had a solid brown color. You can use whatever color you want to. I was just trying to keep it something close to the color of the body. And then you're going to cut that off in a diagonal as well. Okay, next I got these little canvas sheets from Amazon. You can run them through your printer. And then I made these little tags with them. It's a little gingerbread muffin recipe. And I gave you a whole sheet of them in the description below. You can download them and cut them out. You can do them on paper too. I just did them on this, this canvas. And then I'm going to distress them with some Tim Holtz. It's a distressing ink in the walnut stain color. Just going all the way around just to kind of give it a little bit of a weathered look. And I'm going to do the same thing with the little gingerbread man. I'm just going to go all the way around both of them, just around the edges to kind of give it a little bit of a rustic look. And then I am putting some on the ribbon too because it was a bright white. And I'm going to do the little gingerbread man the same exact way. Next, I got a tack. It's just an antique looking tack. I'm just going to run it right through here. And then I'm gluing it on first, and then I am going to cut the point part off with my pliers. But get it glued in first, and you can see I printed on the wrong side of my paper the first time. Okay, next I'm going to add some little buttons to these. I'm going to just run 3 of them down the front of this one. And then I'm going to run 2 smaller buttons down the middle of the other gingerbread man. This just kind of dressed them up a little bit. And then I wasn't really sure if I was going to put 3 on the bigger gingerbread guy. I put 2 on this one, then I did go back and put the 3rd one on the large gingerbread man. And then I am going to add a little distressing ink to the buttons to kind of tone them down a little bit. And then to tie all this together, I'm just going to take a large ribbon and I'm just going to tie a bow right in the center. And then I'm going to add a couple little greenery sprigs. I'm going to cut them short on the bottom part here, and I'm going to put them right up underneath my ribbon. And I'm not gluing these in yet. I will glue these in here in a little bit. Just try to make sure that you don't scratch your pan. Okay, then I'm going to take the small gingerbread man, and I'm just going to stick him right up underneath that ribbon on top of that greenery. I'm going to attach that right there, and then I'm going to bring my other gingerbread man on top in here. And then I'm just going to glue these in right here, and I'm going to put my tag down at the bottom. And then I am going to cut some of the green off towards the bottom so I can put my tag right there. And then I'm going to start gluing in my gingerbread guys, and then we'll put our tag in here in just a second. And you don't need a lot of glue, just a little bit of glue to hold these in. And you're going to do the same thing on the little one. And I think I'm just doing his arm is what I end up doing. I'm going to glue my greenery down right here on the bottom, and I'm just going to put my tag right up at the top. Add a little green sprig right there, and then I'm taking a boxwood garland, and I'm just going to make a small wreath to go into one of the little muffin cups. Just roll it around your finger a few times, wrap it around there, and then I got a little rusty bell. I'm just going to glue my wreath right in there, and then the bell right on top of that. And then I'm going to glue my little sprig of greenery by the little recipe up at the top. Okay, I thought this turned out super cute. Let me know what you think in the comments. Next one, I'm using a corrugated sheet of craft paper from Hobby Lobby. It's a 12 by 12, and you get it back into the scrapbooking section. And I'm just folding it in half, and then I'm taking this same pattern that we used a little bit ago and just cut it out, and we're going to cut it out of that paper. And you're going to fold this in half, and you're going to cut 2 layers exactly at the same time. And I'll give you a link for these scissors. These are cardboard scissors, and they work great. Next, I'm just taking a piece of 2mm wire. I'm just going to make a loop right here because I am going to make a little hanger for this guy. And then just cut that off. Next, I'm taking some red and white check ribbon, and I'm just going to tie a bow, and I'm going to offset it to the side. Now, I'll give you a link for this ribbon. I got this on Amazon. Next, I'm taking an 1/8 inch hole punch, and I'm just going to put a punch right on both sides of the arms. And that's what I'm going to hang my wire through. So I'm going to run it right through there, and then I'm just going to twist it, and then I'm going to go to the other side and do the same thing. And I am going to add a little bell in the middle of it, just to give it a little bit of decoration on the handle. And then I'm going to put a little bit of glue behind it just to hold it in place. I run my wire through the other side, just bend it, push it to the back, and then just wrap that around. Dress him up. I got this little greenery, and this is from a wreath I got from Hobby Lobby last year. I just cut it up. I'm just putting a piece there. I'm going to glue it down to my little cardboard. I'm going to put another piece underneath that, facing downward. And then I'm just going to glue this to the other piece. And next, to distress it, I'm going to take some of that same Tim Holtz ink. It's the walnut stain color, and I'm going to go all the way around this and in the center. I'm going to do the sides, the outsides, a little bit darker than I did the center. And I would recommend doing this probably before you put your ribbon on. I just didn't think of it until afterwards. But it gives it a little bit of depth, and it does give it a little bit more of a rustic vibe. And then you're going to want to flip it over, and you want to do the back as well. But get your edges a lot darker than you did the center. Okay, then to finish it out, I'm just taking a little cinnamon stick and put it right down in the center. Look how cute that is. Let me know what you think in the comments. This next one, I'm going to cover my workstation with some parchment paper because I am going to be working with some clay. And this will keep it from sticking to your workstation. Next, I'm using this foam clay. Now, you can use any kind of air dry clay that you want to, but this one, I'll give you the link for it. I got it on Amazon. It works really good. And I'm just taking a generous amount out, and then I'm going to roll it out. And you do want to take a minute to kind of mix it up a little bit, kind of knead it like you would dough, just to kind of get it a little bit smooth. And then I'm just going to take a little acrylic rolling pin and roll it out. And I'm going to roll this out to about 1/4 of an inch. My paper started sliding around, so that didn't quite work very well. I grabbed a cutting board that I just used for clay only, and I'm just going to roll this out till it is smooth. And then this is how thick I got it. It's about 1/4 of an inch thick. Then I'm taking a 3-inch scalloped cookie cutter, and I'm going to cut 4 of these. And then I'm going to cut one circle out that's just a 3-inch round circle cookie cutter, and I'm going to cut 2 of those out. And you could use regular clay that you bake in the oven as well if you want to. I'm just using the air dry clay because it's a little bit easy to work with. Okay, then once you get all your pieces cut out, you want to set them aside and let them dry 24 hours, and you want to flip them occasionally so that they do dry evenly on both sides. Okay, after those have dried, I'm going to paint them with an acrylic paint, and I'm using a Michaels brand paint. It's Crafter's Choice in the warm brown color. And I'm going to paint just the scalloped pieces. And I'm going to paint the front and the back of these. And even though the air dry clay is already white, I am going to paint it with a bright white acrylic paint. After those have dried, we're just going to start assembling them. We're just making a little sandwich cookie, so we're going to attach one of the scallop on one side of the white one and one on the opposite side. Just make sure you do get these glued good, and then make sure that you do let this air dry before you even paint them. Next, I'm just going to take a pencil. I'm going to draw a little face. I'm just doing 2 little long oval eyes. And then I'm going to do a sideways oval nose and then just a little smile. And I would highly recommend doing this in pencil first. Next, I'm just taking some black paint and I'm going to start coloring this in. I started with a little bit bigger paintbrush and then I switched over to like a real small paintbrush. It just worked a lot easier to use a smaller brush. It'll take you a little bit extra time using a smaller brush, but it's a lot easier to do it this way. Just kind of take your time on this. You can get this done pretty easily. And if you have a vinyl cutting machine and you want to just make them out of vinyl, you can do that as well. And it really was easier to hold this while you're painting it. That way you can put the little knuckle of your pinky onto the little cookie to keep it stable while you're painting it. And I'm adding a couple little eyelashes here. And then the mouth, I actually painted it right here, but I went back and did my second one with a Sharpie and it was a little bit easier. And for the nose, I'm just going to paint it with some red paint. And then after all this dries, just set it aside to dry. We'll come back in and we'll put all the accents on them. To accent the eyes, I'm just taking some white paint and I'm just going to go right around the bottom edge of the eyes. And then I'm going to put a little dot into the top part. And then for the nose, I'm just going to do one little swoop right across the top part of the nose. And then I came back in and put a couple little eyebrows on each side. For the cheeks, I'm coming in with some little peppermint candies and I'm just going to glue one on each side of the mouth. Next, I'm just going to use some white puff paint and I'm just going to do a squiggly line all the way around the face. Okay, then to dress them up a little bit, I'm just going to take a red and white checked ribbon and I'm just going to tie a little bow and put it on the corner of both of them. These really did turn out cute. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm just going to glue it right to the corner and I'm going to do the same thing on both of them. Okay, I think those turned out so cute. For this next one, I've given you the pattern in the description below. Just download it and just cut it completely out. And then we're going to cut this out of a piece of cardboard. You just take any kind of box to cut this out. Just trace it around there with a marker and then use some scissors to cut it out. Now, I'm using some cardboard scissors. I'll give you the link for those. I got them on Amazon. They cut cardboard really well. Okay, next I'm taking some 3mm wire. I'll give you the link for this. I get it on Amazon. I think they carry it at Michael's too. And we're going to just start wrapping this around until we get the shape of our gingerbread man with the wire. So just kind of wrap around different shapes of the body, go down the leg, then come back up, wrap it around the leg. Just keep your cardboard kind of straight while you're doing this. And if you wanted to use a thicker cardboard, you could. Just kind of wrap it so that you are getting the shape. And I'm going to go kind of fast on this so you can see what I'm doing, but we're going to cover every bit of this and we're going to overlap several times. Just try to keep your cardboard from bending. And it's not that hard. Just hold it tight while you're doing it. But you want to make sure that once you get all your wire wrapped around, you still can see it looks like a gingerbread man. And this really didn't use that much wire. You get quite a bit of wire on this roll. Next, I'm going to take it outside, and I've got a little butane tank I got at Lowe's, and I'm just going to start torching it so that the cardboard catches on fire. Now, you could use a lighter to do this as well. You just have to make sure that you're in an area that's not real windy. But just once you get it all started, just let it start burning, and it'll go pretty quickly. And it probably took about maybe 15 minutes for this to completely burn out. Okay, next you can start shaping it a little bit, kind of pulling the little arms out a little bit, just kind of making sure that you do have a gingerbread shape on this. And then I'm going to take it outside and spray paint it with a matte coffee bean paint. Okay, next I'm going to take some burnt sienna and a sponge brush like I did on the little pan, and I'm going to dab this all over it to give it a rusty look. Now I'm going to come back over it with the black and then soften it up a little bit. Next, I'm going to take a brown and white checked ribbon, and I'm just going to get enough so that I can tie a bow around his neck. Take some of that Tim Holtz walnut stain, and I'm just going to lightly stain over the top of it because I didn't want the ribbon to be completely white like that. Okay, next I'm just going to take a jute string to tie around the top so that I can hang this. Attach my ribbon. I'm just going to kind of lay my gingerbread man down where he's going to be hitting onto that ribbon. I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the back, just kind of to hold it in place so it doesn't squeeze in around the neck too much. And then I'm just going to tie it off into a bow. All right, that was pretty much it. This was super simple. It turned out so cute. Let me know what you think. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the video today. I hope it gave you some inspiration. It's never too early to start for Christmas. So if you like these kind of videos, be sure and give me a like, subscribe, and ring that bell to be notified when I have a new video upload. Thank y'all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And if nobody's told you today, you're awesome. See you next time. Thanks for watching.